Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Politically Incorrect Knitters. I'm Deplorable Knitter, and I am joined, as always, by the wonderful, fabulous, industrious, and Pinkava. Hi.
Hi.
I need a new word today.
Industrious. I don't know.
Well, you are.
I have been
You're
knitting
always
a lot.
working on something, yeah. So, before we find out what you've been knitting, we're sponsored by Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. She has beautiful, beautiful yarn like this DK PIK yarn in her Americana sock. I keep wanting to say it's a sock. I don't think it's a sock. It's 100% superwash merino, so it's not a sock yarn. And you'll be eligible to win a copy of Odyssey Tale by Cody Schlegel. So comment below to get in for this. And if you can't wait for your Chicken Lady, use the code PIK VOTE20 for 20% off of your yarn. Like
Yay.
my Vanna impression?
That's right. I'm pretty excited. I think we're both expecting boxes from Chicken Lady this upcoming week. That we got our Christmas advent, so that'll be a lot of fun. And yeah.
That is exciting. I was a little bit out of the loop because Anne ordered my Christmas advent for me. So since I didn't do it, it kind of slipped my mind. And then she's like, hey, what are you going to make with it? And I was like, what? I have no idea. I don't know anything.
Right.
So I'll have to see.
Yeah, we ordered that back in the summer because, I love Christmas advents. I've never gotten a yarn one yet. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Anne is all about Christmas. So that is a thing. I am too. It's just different because I have kids and like there's so much more planning than just like not having kids. Sorry. It doesn't sound nice. You know what I mean.
Oh, that's fine. Oh, and well, I'll show it all off when I get it. But I also have yarn more. I think I said this before, but my Stardust shawl pattern is out for testers right now, so that's very exciting.
Already?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So I hope it makes sense. But I ordered 2 more skeins of the sweet maple yarn, and then Lynn, so I asked her, I'm like, oh well, it was out of stock, and then there was a couple more in stock, and she said that it's difficult to get one of the colors right now because there's all sorts of dye shortages. I'm like, but Lynn, I love it. Please.
It's my favorite ever. Yeah, there's a color I got last Christmas that I think it uses that same yellowish base. It was like honey butter, I think was the name of the yarn. And I don't even like yellow, but it's like it's honey. It's got gold and it's not yellow, and I love it. Haven't finished my project with it, but it's beautiful.
Right. And well, I think I said before, so called Stardust Shawl, and it's based off a movie that was out in 2007. And all the little elements of the movie, that you have the starlight, you have the sort of basket weave sort of wall pattern, you have the snowdrop. And okay, so Stardust is an absolutely adorable film, but just to go off for a rant in the moment, so I'm like, oh, it's a Neil Gaiman novel, I'll sit down and read it. It is the worst book. I just absolute kudos to the scriptwriter, because so you're reading the book and I'm like, okay, so I recognize some elements from the movie. And like, first off, it was needlessly crude throughout the book, and like in ways that didn't even make sense. And like you have all of these characters and you have all of these really cool fairy tale elements in the book, but none of them actually pan out to a plot device. They're like, oh, this is a thing in the world. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is a thing in the world. I'm like, oh, this is a new character. I wonder if that's gonna be an extra plot line that the movie didn't involve. I'm just like, this was crap. At the end of the book, I don't know why 2 main people got together. Like the movie ending, which was very cool, and all of the little elements pan out to your ending, and it's lovely and charming and funny, and you have one of the greatest like fantasy sword fights in a movie. Like, none of that happened. The pirates were 2 pages, and that, and part of the beautiful parts of the movie is you have these steampunk pirates and they're cool characters. And I was just like, what? This book is trash. I don't I don't know how, I don't understand how such a good film could come off of such a horrible book. Like I said, the film is awesome. And I was chatting with a couple of ladies who were talking about, maybe test knitting the shawl. And they were asking like, oh, is it, the film, is it appropriate for children sort of a thing? Because it is sort of that light, kind of Princess Bridey kind of fantasy fairy tale thing. And it's like, nah, I think the movie's a PG-13, and I think it's a true PG-13. Like,
Right.
it's funny. It's not, like I said, the book was very vulgar. The movie isn't vulgar, though. There is some innuendo, and there's a cross-dressing pirate, but it's mostly for humor value. It's a funny film. Anyways,
No,
I'm still making the shawl, but I'm like, what an awful book.
no, that's really funny though, because anytime I've ever like read a book and seen a movie, the book is always miles away better than the movie. And so that's
Right.
really funny to me that it was that bad.
It was. And part of it too is I didn't look up who did the adaptation. But like I said, dreadful book. But whoever did the adaptation must have really liked the book still, because you could tell that even, like I said, entirely different ending, which is great because the original, but that like there was little background elements of the story that they kept from the book. And like I said, the book, like your character plots weren't connected, but it's like, it's like somebody took a bunch of yarn barf and were like, oh yeah, I can make a project out of this. This makes sense. And it was like, really though? Kind of garbage. Like, no, I like some of this.
Yeah, it's funny what people can create out of what we would consider trash. So there you go.
Yeah. And like I said, they did really well. And maybe I wouldn't have, I would have still hated it if it wasn't such a great movie. It was bad. But
you're too funny. So your shawl is in testing, and what else have you got to show us?
my shawl is in testing. I don't know. Did I finish the Christmas stocking?
I don't believe
Probably.
so.
Right. Well, that is already gone and off already, which is sort of to say about this Christmas stocking. There's a lady, and her husband's grandma used to knit these lovely big Christmas stockings for them. So she wants them for, her kids. And she had another kid in February, and I forgot about it. And I had to quick rush it out because she's like, hey, where's the stocking? But the pattern, I had stuffed in a box somewhere. So, and I know I had, I think it's a Knit Picks pattern that I got years ago, but then I adjusted it because her first kid had a really long name. So it had to be a wide stocking. So I did this. And for this kid, I'm like, I had to kind of look at the picture because I didn't have my pattern notes to see how much wider I did it. And I made it way big. And I'm not sure how that's just going to be. Like, if it's going to be like, well, I guess we love you more, third child, because it's so much bigger than talking, or if she's going to be like, yeah, fix this.
Well, hopefully you won't have to fix it till after Christmas.
I don't know. I hope so. But, and also I knit a pair of socks. That is what I did with my time.
Good. Very nice. That's lovely.
You're like, that's nice, Anne.
No, people have said it would happen, but I've been contemplating socks or maybe some sort of slipper, or I haven't quite figured out what it's going to be, but I think at some point I will try my hand at something. And I've been looking at fingering weight yarn, and I want to slap myself and shake myself because I don't know who I am. I don't know what's happening.
Well, okay. So, like I said, I've been spending a lot of time knitting, but part of me doing these is that I think Neil and Carrie were talking this past Monday.
Okay.
I know, one of the most recent shows that Neil and Carrie have been together. That Neil said something about a pair of hand knit socks, will take you like at least 2 weeks or something. And I'm like,
So you had
Oh.
to see how long did they take, Anne?
Well, like I've had more time on my hands than normal. So, I mean, you can take that into consideration, because he said, if you're only knitting it for a couple hours each evening, which is totally fair. But I started these Sunday night and finished up on Wednesday. So, and they are plain too. I mean, they're size 1 needle. It's just a light ribbed sock. There's nothing super special about it, but yeah.
They look happy and cozy.
Yeah, they're nice. I knitted them for my brother, who said he doesn't want hand knit socks, but I made them for him anyways. So he'll then not wear them anyways. So it's a battle of wills, and I'll probably come out the loser, but I thought I'd do it.
You're something else. So I don't have nearly as much to show as you do, but I have a couple things. I have 2 jellyfish.
Aw.
And I have a third one that's almost done. He just needs like another tentacle and to be assembled. He fell down.
Oh no.
This is with a Mandela yarn though. So like it's going into like this bluer color now. And so he's going to be like super cute when he's done.
Yeah.
But we're doing a craft show on Saturday, and the little animals always do well. So I'm making some jellyfish. I'm probably gonna make a couple of like crocheted Christmas trees, things that I can work up pretty quickly, because it's Thursday and I've only got, another day, and tomorrow's co-op. So we'll see what I can get done. But tomorrow's the last day of co-op, which is sad in a way, but also I'm thrilled that we're not going back until February. I got stuff to do. But in our one crochet class, we were doing like woodland creatures. And so the kids made a bunny, an acorn, a fox, a hedgehog, and then they're going to have a little mushroom because they've got their little, woodland thing. And this mushroom, I'll look up who made the pattern, but it is such a good pattern. Like, you don't stuff the top of it. And I'm like, but how are you going to make it look the way it does? But look, it's the way it's crocheted, and it has a real mushroom looking top on it. And it is so cute. Very cute pattern. Very good for my starters too. So that's what I've been working on. And I started a sweater for myself in that yarn I hand dyed. And then I promptly messed it up, and it's only like 4 rows long. So yay me. But before Anne and yeah.
We're still doing the 2 sweater challenge, everybody. You can still enter on Instagram. You can still get your things in for the prizes. I need to post pictures of the prizes because we got some cool stuff.
Yeah, do it. And I'll repost them. Okay. But I was telling Anne before we got on, I am really looking forward to the end of this weekend. Really, really a lot. Like, tomorrow's the last day of co-op, and then we're doing a craft show on Saturday, and then Sunday's the last day of swimming for my kids, and then it's a holiday, and I'm just hoping that there will be like a minute to sit down in there and like not be running around like I'm crazy. So I don't know. It seems like every time I think that's going to happen, though, something else comes and kicks me in the face. So we'll have to see what happens. But that's all I have for crochet news. I don't have any knitting. I've not knit in a while. I really, really want to start knitting more again. I have not done it in a long time, and it makes me sad. So, I mean, like, I made a couple of things, but nothing noteworthy. I haven't designed anything. I've got tons of ideas in my head. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, something will happen that will give me time, and I'll be very excited. But that's what I know about that. Anne and I do have news to talk about. I mean, we didn't do a news show. If you guys missed us last week, we did a trunk show. We had 11 different vendors on. They showed off some of their beautiful stuff. Some of them gave coupon codes. So make sure you check it out, because Small Business Saturday is coming up. People start Christmas shopping. So check it out.
Yeah. It's a really good. and people brought a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was fantastic. But because we did that last week, we didn't talk anything about the election. Right, Anne?
Right. Not
Do we have to?
I think we do a little bit. I don't know, like the entire thing, it's like, it just seems, okay, so it was middling at best. But I don't know, there's a lot of it that is just kind of weird and gaslighty. Like, okay.
I feel like it's weird. And I feel like they're all, oh, the red wave didn't happen, the red wave didn't happen, Gen Z or whatever this new generation came out and saved us. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's actually accurate. It seems like, yeah, maybe more of the young people voted than we expected, but also I don't know if you guys, I don't think that everything was completely transparent, so I don't know where I stand. How about that?
Right. Well, there's enough irregularity in Arizona and Michigan that it lays things. Well, it's the same state over again. Pennsylvania as well. Like, okay, so certainly some people did vote for Fetterman, which is bizarre enough, but there's enough weirdness going on that you're like, yeah, I don't think. And yeah.
I don't know. The whole Carrie Lake thing in Arizona, especially, I just don't know how she didn't win, especially with Maricopa County only coming in. Like, what did I hear? 17 or 27% for her. That's not, Maricopa County is a Republican county. I don't believe it. And I also don't understand why nobody pushed the Secretary of State to not oversee the election because she was running in it. That's just like a conflict of interest. What is wrong with people?
She was running in it. Not only that, she didn't recuse herself. She didn't actually have a debate. It was very weird. And with the polling places that they're like, oh well, we ran out of ballots and we ran out of ink, and so a third of
the machines aren't working. Yeah.
And with so many things that it wasn't election day, it was election week, and we counted and Carrie Lake was ahead until she wasn't, and then we counted it all.
Yeah, and she was ahead until she wasn't, but even so, even though it wasn't like the presidential election, there were ballot drops like randomly. Like, where do these ballots come from that they just magically appear and the numbers change like that? Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't know why people aren't asking questions. So now we saw it in the presidential election. Now we've seen it in the midterms. It's time for us, people watching, to stand up and say to our representatives, especially, fix this. There is something wrong. It needs to be fixed. And then what about Alaska? What the heck is going on in Alaska? You like rank your people and then they just keep going through and tallying the votes until somebody wins. It's the most bizarre, time-consuming, ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. So yeah, voting happened, but somehow, some way they managed.
No, I was about to say, and a lot of people that the attitude is sort of that it can't be fixed, it's impossible. Which I would say, okay, there you have to totally wear out your possibilities before you have like before breaking the entire thing down, you have to wear it out to the possibility to fix it. Florida's elections, as we know, used to be absolute crap, and now they're not. Like, it is something that fixed, but that you have to fight over every inch to fix it. Harmeet Dillon, who is a lawyer and a knitter, that she wears lovely hand knit sweaters on Tucker Carlson. No, she was talking about how she was in Arizona and she was sitting there and fighting it the legal way the whole time, and out there talking about to go into the website to see if your vote is counted or if it's rejected. And if it was rejected, go in, cure your ballots, make sure, like use every possible avenue that you have before you're like, oh, well, it's all done.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know, not to roll over so easily.
Not to what?
Not to roll over so easily. But.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And I think that that's part of the problem, is that we've always, for years and years and years, it's kind of like, oh, well, government's this or that, and we'll just kind of go along with it. And we don't necessarily like it. No, we need to stop just being like, la, 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 like, these people do not have our best interest at heart. And we need to like start standing up and saying, because if enough of us are like, hey, dude, you need to fix this, I mean, the fix wasn't in New York, I don't think. Okay. And Zeldin was like within 4 points of Hochul. The Republican was within 4 points of the Democratic governor in New York. And that shows you what can happen when people get fed up. And so especially these races where people are, it seems irregular or it's taking a really long time, like start asking questions. That is our representatives' jobs are to answer to us. And so if you have questions, start making noise, because stuff's not going to change. We can't just sit here anymore and be like, oh, well, it'll get worked out in the next election. No, they're showing us it's not going to get worked out in the next election. They're on purpose not doing it. So let's not allow that. But even in spite of that, we still somehow managed to get the House, which is mind-boggling to me, because I guess they didn't cheat enough in some of the places, right? And my saying that they're cheating, that's allegedly. That's just me kind of being salty about the whole thing. Obviously, I have no proof of anything. I'm just annoyed. So, YouTube censors, just so you know.
Again, late coming news, but like we said, we had no news show last week. But Trump announcing his presidential bid.
I know.
Did you watch?
I know. I did not. No, because on Tuesdays are big night here in this house. We watch The Curse of Oak Island, and we're very excited. They might actually start finding some treasure someday.
Oh, wow.
No, but I mean, I knew he was going to announce, so I didn't watch it. I've seen clips and recaps. And I don't know how I feel about it. I won't even lie. I don't know how I feel about anything. I think I've become so jaded. I don't think I like DeSantis. I don't think I like Trump. I don't think I like any of them. I don't know.
Well, so it's difficult. Trump, and that people are saying like, oh, Trump shouldn't be petty with DeSantis back and forth. And like, okay, first off, I like Trump. I like DeSantis. Let's not, whatever. But in a presidential bid between Trump and DeSantis, I would vote for Trump. But DeSantis, it's so rhino Machiavellian, because all of the rhino candidates and the never Trumpers are all coalescing around DeSantis. And it's weird because, look, like I said, I like the guy. I think he has done great for Florida, but it's the National Review people who have a picture of Trump and no, it's the, oh, we're so reasonable. It's the, we're so clever. It's the, and like I said, I don't think that is particularly, I mean, it's a little damning to DeSantis, but not like, I'm not necessarily blaming DeSantis for this, but you're taking the MAGA Republican crowd and you're trying to split them down the middle from two of their favorite guys. And I mean, you could say that Trump is doing that too, taking a couple of pot shots at DeSantis, but first off, that's what Trump does. And secondly, DeSantis is only there because of Trump. And I think that it's something that could be kind of easily smoothed out between them, but I don't know. It's a rough thing. Also, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you hit, it's not that I don't like either of them. It's that I don't know if Trump has run his course. I don't know if he can get the backing that he's had in the past. Things have gone pretty much down the shitter. His candidates didn't win, whether or not that was because they truly weren't winning or if it was because of other things. But do you know what I mean?
6% of his candidates didn't win. So that's not as bad. And not to mention, okay, so with the voter thing, Blake Masters in Arizona, he was outspent by like $70 million because Mitch McConnell wouldn't give him any money, but Trump gave him $4 million of his own. Okay, that is standing by your dude and making it work.
Yeah, if Trump is the candidate, I will vote for him. That's not the question. I don't know if it's because of the past couple of years, my vigor for him, my zest has waned, or if it's because but I think DeSantis, I don't remember who it was. It may have been Kristi Noem who was saying that she doesn't think that DeSantis should run and that we need strong governors in states to be strong governors. May not have been her from the look on your face, but but I'm kind of a fan of that idea of like, let's get good people running these states and let's see if we can get somebody else to run the country and kind of work together and make things better. But I don't know. The part of my thing with DeSantis is the rhinos and stuff going behind him. Anytime there's somebody who is like not for America first and then they're running to, lick his boots, I don't know how I feel about that. It makes me feel gross, so I don't know.
Yeah, which is a difficult thing because, like I said, I like DeSantis, but it's like things are getting weird, and
I think that's a lot of what it is.
And the Rhino Republicans, the Mitch McConnells and the John Thunes and everybody else, they're not going to give up power easily, even though it's mostly just the power of the purse. But still, that's not inconsequential. The energy of the party is not with them, but there are always the people who, like I said, will be the oh so reasonable, like, oh well, was like, oh well, Trump is too divisive. Look, any Republican candidate will be too divisive. Okay, George Bush was too divisive. Mitt Romney and John McCain were too divisive. As Milquetoast says,
figure.
Will make anything of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about any of it. I don't really. But while you were talking earlier, you made a point about money. And there's something about money that came up this week that's very, very interesting. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
So it's got to do with Ukraine and cryptocurrency. So if you guys haven't been following along at home, there is this company called FTX, cryptocurrency company, billions of dollars, huge company. And weirdly, when Biden said that he was going to give Ukraine money that very first time, like that day or the next day, Zelensky went and signed a thing that they could invest in cryptocurrency. And so all of a sudden they're getting money from the US, and then all of a sudden they can invest in cryptocurrency. And then somehow it appears, we don't know because we haven't audited it, but it appears that it could possibly be that money from Ukraine went to this FTX cryptocurrency company, which then went and was the second largest donor in the election behind Soros.
Right.
So something funny is happening.
It's like, well, we need to send billions to Ukraine right now. Yeah. They need rockets and body armor and other things to fight the Russians, rebuild their buildings, maybe, make strong their fortifications. And so you take it around, you invest it, and you need billions more. That's
So we all have known that the Ukraine thing is kind of fishy for a while now. I know that not a lot of people like to hear that, but it's true. And in the past 9 months, we have given Ukraine $91 billion. Okay. And then I heard this really interesting thing. While we were in Afghanistan, that's 2 times what we would spend in a year. So what's going on that their war is costing twice as much as our war in Afghanistan did? Is it because they're selling off all of the assets and putting them into cryptocurrency and selling the tanks and supplies and things that we've given them? Or what? What is happening?
Right.
Why is there no oversight?
Right. No oversight at all. And especially when, Joe Biden was known before for having Ukraine government fire people, or Biden wouldn't give them funding when he was vice president under Obama. And he admitted to this.
And he
And
laughed about it.
And he
nobody
laughed
cares
about it. Yeah. And then you have this whole thing with the missile into Poland this past week, and
God.
that that they're like, oh, it's Russian, and I don't know about you, but they were like, but who sent this missile? And I just had this image from the first Iron Man movie where he's behind the rock and there's a big missile that says Stark Industries, and he's like, oh crap. But no, it was actually a Ukrainian missile that had misdirected and gone into Poland. So they're like, is this World War III? Oh no, it doesn't matter. And at the time, Zelensky was out there saying, this is Russian aggression and you should get behind me as a NATO, whatever.
Well, as far as I know, he's still saying that because they have government run media. And so he can say whatever he wants to because his people can't hear anything else. So therefore, it sounds like we're not supporting them. But
right. And
and he's saying that even though they can prove it's his, that it's not really theirs, even though the engine in it is, or the motor, or however they propel, is a kind that they use, that only they use, but it's not his.
Right. Which, I don't know, it's a lot of stupid. It's a lot of, I don't know, and as been said before, like, okay, Russia versus Ukraine. Obviously, I don't want harm to the Ukrainian people. Russia shouldn't have invaded or whatever. Not a Putin apologist here. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the whole thing is incredibly suspicious. And also, Zelensky suspended all of his opposition political parties, which is problematic.
Correct. Yeah. So, and he's out there saying that it's Russia, and that under Article 5 of NATO, that means that we have to go protect them because Poland is a NATO country. And one of our very calm, non-rhino, actually conservative House or Senate members was on the news saying, actually, we don't have to go do that because there's an article that nobody ever bothers to read. But in Article 11, it says that we get to vote on it and decide if it's in our best interest to go. So
right.
That's also interesting, but I love it that they're pushing this narrative. Oh, you have to go protect Ukraine. I don't want to go protect Ukraine. I'm really sorry that that's happening, but can we worry about the millions of people just coming over our borders instead of Ukraine's borders? I think that's more important right now. I don't want anybody to die. I don't want any war, but also we can't, when we're on an airplane, if the plane starts going down or is in trouble, I put on my face mask first and then I put on my child's, because how can I help them if I'm passing out because the thing has depressurized, right? Then we're all dead. I have to take care of myself and then I can help my children, because otherwise they're probably screwed. And that's what's happening here. It's not how it goes.
Right. And that was also one of the great parts of the Trump speech, that you're like, okay, yeah, Trump speeches. I've heard lots of Trump speeches before, but truly aspirational America first. No, we can take this and we can make it right again and we can work for it. That he very clearly put out, things like totally reorganizing the FBI, and things like, he mentioned, and I was a little shocked by this, that he's like, yeah, and some people don't want to do this, but I'm seriously, that he's actually thinking of it, is death penalty for drug dealers. And I'm like, ooh, that one's a little, that's a little spicy.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, is he talking all drug dealers, or is he talking people bringing fentanyl over the border. Like there's got to be some sort of,
Right.
we're not talking about our local neighborhood pot guy on the corner, right? Like,
I don't
I
think
hope.
so.
I don't know.
But he was talking about drug dealers on average cause about 500 deaths from overdoses. So I'm like, wow, you're taking this seriously. But it's issues like that where okay, like I said, Santa's great. But Trump saying, no, these are serious issues. And there were also, you could kind of tell that there were bits where he like got a little faster, but like people were saying that, oh, he was low energy, he was this, he was that. It's like, no, Trump speaks slower when he's making an official announcement than he does at a rally. And people would say, oh, he's being unpresidential, he's being that. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of a situation where he's talking slower because this is an official announcement. It's a smaller crowd of people. It's all of the Trump bros who weren't clapping because they were all holding their phones up. I'm like, come on, guys, you could do a little applause.
Well, I heard a really interesting report from ABC News that said that the speech was so terrible that people were trying to leave the room, but the security wouldn't let them out. So sometimes I wonder, like, if this is happening, where's my video?
Right.
I mean, we live in the video world now. Proof didn't happen. But it's just crazy, the things that they say.
Also, a lot of these people want a job. You think they're leaving? Ha! And especially since Jared and Ivanka will not be a part of this administration, which I think is great because they were kind of squishes. I mean, I understand Trump's thing where he, wants his family members around him because, in his business career, those are the people that you can really trust. I get that, but they're not true conservatives. So them not being there is a great sign.
Yeah. And, the more we talk about it, I mean, obviously I prefer Trump because as much as I like DeSantis, he is still a politician. This is still where he's been making his mark. He didn't come up doing other things and then get thrown into it. He's been governor. He's been other things. Yeah.
He was a prosecutor, which I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And like I said, I think he's doing a great job and I like hearing what he says, but it's like, who is up there on stage talking about world events? Who's talking about China and Russia? And also with the Trump crowd, it always cracks me up that whenever he talks about international news and he's talking about Germany and the issues, you can tell that the crowd just sort of glazes over. And Trump's talking about it easily. He's going down the line. He's explaining it. And the Trumps are like, what? Not the Trumps, but the crowd's like, okay. Like, yeah, you don't. It's okay. Knowing American news is the most important. I understand. But the crowd's like, whatever.
I'm going to reserve judgment because obviously it's 2 years away and who knows, in another while I think that part of it is that he did it on the heels of this election that didn't go well. And so I'm jaded from that. And it's hard to be like, yay, Trump, when elections like, wow, this is like such shit. Like,
yeah. And I think part of that too was, I think the reason that he announced now was because people are so bummed out and you want to give them some hope, some kick up, some let's go. But also I've heard it mentioned by a couple different people that they're going to try to drag Trump through the mud with the January 6th trial and the subpoenas and all of that, the show trial where you can't have any real opposition. They want to drag Trump in. That it's a bad look. I mean, it was already a bad look having FBI raid him and having this fake, run by a TV crew trial and everything. But in addition, having your political opponent, harassing your political opponent is a bad look. And that's another reason for him to be back on Twitter because he is a political candidate. Keeping him off Twitter.
That's actually something I have written down. I didn't think we'd get to it, but everybody's like, oh, this election is going to be the loss of democracy, the loss of democracy. Actually, not allowing Trump and people who agree with Trump or who disagree with the mainstream to have a platform to speak is the definition of not democracy. That's what Zelensky did to his his rivals, his political rivals. He deplatformed them and didn't allow them to have a voice. And so Trump does need to be back on social medias. He needs to be able to get his words out so that people can hear them. Otherwise, they are doing exactly what they accuse everybody else of. And then real quick, I heard that Google changed the algorithms so that like conservative things don't show up very high, like Breitbart got moved down in the rankings, and they lost like 60% of their search activity because of Google messing with it. And Gmail was sending conservative campaign emails to spam, but not Democratic ones. Like, if we can prove this, that's wrong. So what's going on here? Like, this is the stuff I'm talking about, where we need answers, and we can't just keep going, oh, well, it'll work out next time. No, we have proof that these people are on purpose messing with our election. If you cannot find something that's conservative because they've on purpose buried it, or they've thrown it in your spam, or that's wrong, and it needs to be dealt with.
Right.
Anyway.
And that or with Section 230 that is the legal, so platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Google and stuff, that they're not liable for what's said on their platform because they're not a publisher. They're I'm missing the word, but basically it's like if you make a phone call to, I don't know, you and your buddy are going to do some crime, the phone company isn't liable for you using their service because,
right,
you know, it's just what was on the phone. And Facebook and the rest of social media companies have that same protection because, you know, hey, they're not liable for what other people say, but they also have terms of service so that they, you know, try not to aid and abet crimes, except for, you know, various child porn companies that are not taken down as fast as conservative news sources. But besides that, that the content moderation is getting slimmer and slimmer, that they're enforcing more and more rules on people, so they're becoming more of a publisher. So that they're editing people's words, but they're not having the same that they still enjoy the protections, even though that they shouldn't.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. If they're going to moderate people, then they shouldn't be protected. Like, that's the thing. Either you do it so it's fair for everybody, or you lose your deal. Then I don't understand, like, why my kids, if you don't eat your supper, you can't have dessert. If you don't allow these people do it, you can't have the thing. It's not rocket science. This stuff that pisses me off. But
can't have your pudding if you don't eat your meat.
Exactly. Although lab bred chicken is now going to be a thing. It's been FDA approved. Yeah, lab grown, not lab bred. Lab grown chicken, which means that they make it in a petri dish somehow, which I don't even want to know. I don't even want to accidentally eat it. So that's happening. So is there any other world news we need to talk about? Because we kind of did more election than I thought.
Right. Well, that was one thing too, that most of my prep was for other world news. I'm like, no, wait, we haven't talked about the election yet. Okay. So a couple things to go through quickly. This all sucks, so be prepared. Right. So in Iran, 15,000 protesters are now sentenced to death. Many of them are, you know, young people, especially girls, because those are the main people who led the protests. And okay, this is rough. So content warning, kids are listening, don't. But in the Islamic regime of Iran, it basically, what they do is, if it's a young woman who is sentenced to death, they'll rape her first so she's not pure enough to get into heaven. Like, that is the level of barbarism that you're dealing with in Iran. Slightly positive news, not that obviously, but the soldiers in Iran, that there was a video that came out this past week Basically the soldiers were ordered to open fire on the crowd, and they didn't, and the protesters were giving them roses. So that there is enough of a shakeup that it may be that the current regime of Iran were to fall and to have some change so that these protesters wouldn't be killed. But it's a really shocking and dangerous situation that they're now in.
Mm-hmm. Why aren't we worried about that? Why are we so worried about Ukraine and Russia, and nobody cares that 15,000 people, mostly young women, are going to be killed?
Right. No, it is. And this all started, was sparked by the death of a young woman who was beaten by police for having an improper head covering. Yep. And yeah, so yes, it is. And there's all sorts of terrible things with our relationship history to Iran. And also Trudeau in Canada, the Chancellor of Germany, are not letting Iranian refugees come in, people who might be, put to death by this government. That they were like, yeah. Oh, wait, no. Ooh, ghosting out of the conversation. So, that's particularly scummy. And to segue to another scummy thing from Trudeau in Canada, who there's always a lot to say with Trudeau. But there, again, another act of barbarism. There is a woman in Canada who is being denied an organ transplant because she is unvaccinated. And this has been taken to 2 courts, and the court has said that being vaccinated against COVID-19 is necessary to the health of all Canadians, and therefore her refusing to take that because she's having an organ failure and may not want the side effects of that and needs a new organ, that is no reason for her to do that. And she was doing an interview with Mark Stein yesterday, and she was talking about her situation, that the courts won't let her talk about which organ of hers is failing, which hospital she's in, what doctors. She is court-ordered silence because of this. And I mean, in a different way, we've seen this with the Canadian protesters, with Tamara Lynch, who is a organizer of the trucker convoy, and she cannot talk to anybody in any sense, in any way, about protests or vaccine mandates or anything, that she is court-ordered silence. But this woman, again, that she may not talk to people about which organ she's failing, and she has oxygen. And in the interview, she's like, look, and she's asked, that her case needs to be expedited to the Canadian Supreme Court because she needs an organ transplant right now, and asking, about how much time may you have. And she's like, it's not good. If she was to remove her oxygen, like, her lungs aren't taking in oxygen. Like, if she were to remove the tube from under her nose, she'd be passed out in a couple of minutes. Wow. And that is the state. And Canadian healthcare, free healthcare. There is no independent healthcare in Canada. And also, as sick as we are in America, she cannot leave Canada and come to America for an organ transplant because she's not allowed to enter the country if she's not vaccinated. There is not an option for her, and she's not allowed on a Canadian airplane without being vaccinated either. But there isn't an option for her to go someplace else for an organ transplant, and the government has sentenced her to death, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And that,
government directly, us by proxy.
Yeah, no, that's the insidious nature of the government healthcare. It turns into this thing where all of a sudden you can't make the decisions that you want to make for yourself. And everybody's like, oh, we need Medicaid for all. No, please do not give me that, because I would like to decide whether or not I want to try an organ transplant, or I want to have a surgery, or whatever it's not anybody else's choice. And that's right. Terrifying that the country is saying, nope, you suck, you can't have it. Like,
right. What? Another Trump era thing. Not only that his thing where he talked about medication, that we should not be paying more for medication than other places in the world for the same product. But also he put out the right to try. So again, this is about organ transplants, another thing, but it's like, yeah, have what medication you want. But if there's if you are terminal and there is an experimental practice and you're like, I'm not sure if this is, this might kill you, we're not sure about it, you have the right to try. Like, you're going to be dead anyways, you can try it and maybe it will help you. But that is something that it's been all up in red tape before. But yeah, it's a sick thing. It's a sick thing when the government, it's like, oh, well, get your, laws off my body, everything else. When you cannot have medical treatment because other medical treatment that you refuse, that has harmed people, has verifiably harmed people, and you refuse to take it, that the government can decide which medical treatments you have for yourself, that human beings are not a one-size-fit-all thing when it comes to medical treatments, but it's mandated, and if not, you die.
Yeah.
That you will not be served by doctors.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. That's terrible. What else you got? We got, 5 more minutes?
Well, I only have more terrible news. So it's the COP28 where all of our betters get together and decide what's for us, and all the world leaders and Klaus Schwab. But kind of that idea of people, that the little people of the world, well, they're not smart enough to know what they really need. You're not smart enough to know what medical interventions you want, what car you want to drive, what you want to eat. Those decisions really shouldn't be in the hands of the little people. Of course, I can make those, the elite, they can make these decisions for themselves, but they're like the pretty clever people who giggle like schoolgirls with Trudeau and Rishi Sunak sitting together on a phone saying, oh, well, we support you, Zelensky, at COP20, like a couple of teenage girls. It's terrible. These are.
Can I jump in for a second? I do know that there's a clip going around from this thing about Trudeau and Xi Jinping. What's his name? Is it Xi Jinping? I thought I was just making that up.
Right.
So there's Trudeau and Xi Jinping, and Trudeau was getting scolded like a small child for the press knowing what he spoke about with the Chinese dictator. And you want a glimpse of what life is going to be like. Trudeau loves that dude. You should have seen him slink away. He had his tail between his legs. He looked like somebody had just killed his puppy. And
I don't know if it was more public embarrassment or he filled his shorts, but the awkward, scared walking away.
Yeah.
From. Well, he certainly knows who holds the leash in that relationship. But
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, okay. It is. And briefly before I was going to say the other thing, but that is called the World. There's a video on YouTube put out by the World Governance for the World Governance Summit, video entitled "Are We Ready for a New World Order?" in which the guy in the video says, we haven't really had a new world order. We need it. And it's the Western world that has created the new, that's what the old world order was. And we're gonna make, they're literally saying new world order is a good thing. And then YouTube puts a thing under it saying the new world order is a conspiracy theory. And I'm like, you just said new world order. Klaus Schwab gets up and he says that we need a systematic restructuring of the world, and this will take time. In his creepy, sinister Teutonic accent, he's saying all of this. And in England, Stanley Johnson, who is the father of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, this is very interesting, said some people won't be able to get on a plane, and that's okay. And then he quoted a national plan for climate change, and that energy independence doesn't divvy up the whole planet as well. That you have to think of the whole picture, and the whole picture is that politicians and their family members get the money in the private jets. But, if just you and your family want to save up and take a vacation to Mallorca, that's not allowed.
Yeah, that's not allowed. And there were something like 400 private jets that went to this thing, but
Mhm.
we little people will not be allowed to take a plane or drive a gas car or anything else.
In fact, traveling, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Independence of movement and independence of food. Of course, oh, they're not really going to eat the cricket burger, but
No, they're not the ones that are eating that weird lab cultivated meat. So
no.
no, it's just for the
And
rest of us,
like,
us.
um, with environmentalism, it's so stupid. First up, because like I said, it's just your better saying what other people shouldn't do when they're going to do it, and they take private jets. Surely some of them could have carpooled. You'd think that the most energy efficient would be a plane filled with people instead of like, little groups. But not only that in the name of climate change, we need solar panels, which are mined by children in a dirty way to get the materials and made most of solar panels are made in China by slaves. This is undisputed. Political prisoners, forced labor is what's making all of our pretty solar panels. That, oh, well, we shouldn't farm anymore because farming is bad for the environment. What is literally better for the environment than plants and animals? Like, seriously, what is it's like, oh, instead of having, wool garments, which we should know being knitters, that wool lasts longer, that it's better for you, it's fire retardant, it's renewable, it's biodegradable, it's all of these lovely things. It's great for the animals because the sheep need haircuts, and this is actually sustainable, renewable, all of your happy little buzzwords. But instead, let's have plastic clothes that goes through horrible chemical baths, and that will be better for you. And the waste that comes off those products and everything else. Microplastics in the water, that's fine. Wool, though, having beef, which is so healthy and so good. And again, the leather, renewable, useful, long lasting. Again, good for the land, good for the animals, all of this. No, 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 no. Going to live in a concrete box and you're going to like it.
Yeah, it in the end, it doesn't have anything to do with what's good for the environment or what's good for the people or whatever. It's them having power over you and telling you what you can do, because it, like Bill Gates wants to block out the sun or whatever nonsense. Like, what's better for you than getting some nice vitamin D? It's been dreary here. We live in an area that gets a lot of cloudy days in the winter. And so every time the sun comes out, my husband's like, hey, you go outside, because I get that seasonal affective disorder where, like, if I don't get enough sunshine, I'm like depressed because it's, but they just have no idea about like real life, like these ideas that they have, because they're not going to affect them. That's the problem. They're not going to affect them. They don't care about the little people. They might pretend that they do. They might have the buzzwords, but it doesn't, they don't care what happens to regular people. But anyway.
Very no, yeah, this is very, I mean, and people talk about sinister, this is late stage capitalism. It's like, this is large corporations colluding with government for power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, well, this is capitalism. This
No.
is large business, like I said, with regulations and everything else, with politicians in their pocket. This isn't a only capitalist problem, capitalism being the free market. If anybody could put out their products, not that anybody can't put out their products now, but some people are definitely getting steps up and cuts and protections and contracts.
Well, the people who hate capitalism so much are the ones that have their iPhones and their Starbucks coffee who are telling you how bad it is. So whatever. It's all nonsense. Right. People just want to complain.
Don't use your dryer, which is a big thing that there are articles coming out about, oh, using your dryer is horrible. Yeah, instead you should hang your damp, if you don't live in a place with a backyard, you should hang your damp clothes in your apartment, which will cause its own lung issues if it happens constantly. Like, there's these issues that's like, oh, well, I know, it just reminds me of the little Victorian family in the backwood hovel. Like, that's super sustainable, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So, got anything else?
Well, besides the systematic restructuring of the world, I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm sad now. So,
yeah. Oh, also in crap systematic restructuring news, that the several banks are launching their digital currency. So getting together with the U.S. government for a trial run.
That's fantastic. We've been studying the Silk Road in history, and I'm using the Tuttle Twins history book. And so in the end of it, it says, imagine what would happen if there were no trucks or trains to bring you your food. Imagine what would you do if there was no food in the store, or and my kids got all Twitter pated, like, what would we do? What if we couldn't drive? What if we'd grow things in our yard and we would barter. And I said, thank God I can knit, because maybe somebody makes jam and I can give them a hat and get some, like, that's what we're going towards. At least that's what I'm going towards, because I'm not doing any sort of cryptocurrency anything. I'll build a hut out in the woods and you'll never see me again. But
oh, and okay, so this is okay, not just because FTX just crashed, but I have said before that I don't like cryptocurrency. Okay, and I know that once a large part of it just crumbled, that you'd think that I'd have to spin. Now, I think cryptocurrency is another crappy libertarian half measure, where it's like, oh yeah, it'll be the computer and it'll be free and blockchain and nobody will ever be able to hack it. Like, yeah, right.
yeah.
And, like, oh yeah, and it'll be free. I'm like, no, you know what's free? You know what's actually untrackable? Physical goods, physical currency, getting back to the gold standard. That is what is actually untraceable, and we cannot give that up even for any level of Bitcoin. And again, to reference the Canadian truckers, they're like, yeah, donate in Bitcoin and this and that. Like, oh, we can't access that now. Ooh, wonder why.
Well, that company that just went down, FTX, they had billions of dollars worth of, people were buying billions of dollars worth of nothing. Cryptocurrency isn't actually a thing. Like, I don't even understand. I mean, probably somebody out there smarter than me can explain it to me, but you don't get anything for it. So like, I might have like bless you, I might have like an online wallet that's got $1 million of cryptocurrency, but if people don't take it, then what good is it? Like, it's a very, I don't know.
Yeah, and people will say too, like, oh, well, currency is only really people's trust in it. So, well, right now the American dollar and many other currencies in the world are backed on nothing, which is an issue, not gonna lie, which is should say that this is one point, and again, not a Putin apologist, but we should follow Russia in this. Russia rebacked their currency in gold. Why? Because what Russia said, you can pay us these debts that you could pay debts to Russia in gold, which means that the Russian government had enough gold to reback their currency, which is why that you couldn't destroy the ruble. Okay. That, people and America and all of these other countries are like, yeah, devalue the currency, whatever. They can play whatever banking games, but in the end, they couldn't, because it was backed with something real. And right now, there's some speculation, because a lot of currencies like the pound and the euro are sitting around $1, which is way lower than it normally. Euro and pound are normally higher than the dollar, that this might be a level of trying to go for some sort of global creep currency. But anyways, says, oh, well, a currency is only your trust in it. Oh, well, what is gold really worth? Like, no, gold is a physical thing. Diamonds are a physical thing. Silver is a physical thing, and it has a certain value and it has a certain use. And just going, they're like, oh, well, I'll just trust it. Like, no, it is a thing. And if you don't have and you're just playing around with, oh, it's trust, oh, it's this, it's that, it's like, no, that's just the games you play. That's not the
Yeah.
physical truth of it. In the end, if a Bitcoin is worth nothing, you have nothing in the air. If a bar of gold is worth nothing, you still have a bar of gold. Like,
Correct. And so, guys, whether you're using your cryptocurrency or your regular cash money or whatever, you can buy yarn with it.
that's right.
You can buy Chicken Lady Fiber art yarn, and you can get 20% off because you can use the code PIK Vote 20 to get lovely, lovely, beautiful yarn.
That's right. You know what's real? Warm feet.
True story. And yeah, I have to go take my kids somewhere, so we have to end it here. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow Ann and I on Instagram. We're on other platforms, but
yeah, there's been a huge push towards Rumble lately. So if you prefer to support them instead of YouTube, we do have a Rumble channel.
we do. Unfortunately, our lives don't work there for some reason. I still haven't figured that out, but you can get most of our content over there.
Rumble, but yeah, it's there's bugs. But yeah, check out our trunk show video. Yeah, we might have a website soon. That's exciting.
We might have a website soon, depending on if DK can get to it or not. So we'll see. Hopefully, my kids will be like chill the next few weeks. And Anne will write some copy for me.
Yes, that's right.
Perhaps an about profile, something. Mm-hmm.
I hate about profile.
Hey, you gotta do it.
I know.
But yeah, so everybody, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Rumble, Instagram. Check out our awesome sponsor, Chicken Lady. Anna's on Twitter. I have an account, but I don't use it, so you can follow it if you feel like it. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
All right, see you then.
Bye.